Today's adventure takes us to the home of the 33rd President, Harry S. Truman, in Independence, Missouri. The visit actually occurs in 4 parts. The Visitor Center, which is in downtown Independence, the Nolan Home, which is the home of the President's cousins, the Truman Library, and of course, the Truman home itself. One must have tickets to tour the home. The tickets are free and must be picked up at the Visitor Center. The tour has a maximum capacity of 8, and there are tours throughout the day. You can take photos inside and outside the Visitor Center, the Nolan home, but only on the exterior of the Truman House itself. Therefore, all the inside photos in this video are taken from the National Park's various websites. The Visitor Center has various items from the President's life, including one of the suits that he wore. Here is Mrs. Tiger, making sure that her passport stamp in her book is just perfect. The uniqueness of the Truman House is that it sits in an active neighborhood. People were cutting grass, walking dogs. It showed the plain folk spirit that Truman was known for. To the people and to the President, it was just 219 North Delaware Avenue, Independence, Missouri. Now, in his own words, is President Truman discussing Independence, Missouri.
Well, it's good to be back home in what I call the center of the world, Independence, Missouri. I think it's the greatest town in the United States, and I've been all over the country, and I've been to Europe and South America and several other places. But I still like to come back home, and I'll continue to feel that way as long as I live. And I think you find everybody in Independence feels the same way about this town, because it's the center of things for most of us, and it's the center of things for me. And I'm more than happy to be here and to stay here for the rest of my life. I hope it won't cause you too much trouble while I'm here.
The house was originally the home of Bess's family. When the President married Bess, they moved into 219 North Delaware and lived with Bess's mother, Mrs. Wallace. President Truman died December 26, 1972, at the age of 88. Bess Truman died October 18, 1982, at the age of 97. She willed the house to the United States government, and the house is virtually untouched since the day she died. The screened-in porch was one of the favorite places for the Trumans to sit and enjoy the afternoon to escape the summer heat. While the President read history and the classics, Mrs. Truman enjoyed a good mystery. The President retired before the era of big government pensions. There are holes in the kitchen linoleum, wear pads on the carpets. It is a house that was a home. On display in the china cabinet are several pieces of the presidential china. From this photo, you can see how the living room remains unchanged since the days of the President. The President's reading room has hundreds of books, as well as hundreds of albums, mostly classical, but he does have a few albums by his daughter, Margaret. One can see from these photos how simply the Trumans lived. The home, in the Queen Victorian design, dates to the 1850s. Joseph and Ella Nolan bought it in 1908. Ella was Harry's father's sister. That makes her daughters, Nellie and Ethel, Harry's cousins. They were about the same age, and they were pals. The Nolans had the home for generations, but when it became available in 1991, the Park Service jumped at the chance to get it. The weekends gave Harry a chance to get away, to stay in touch with his favorite aunt and two favorite cousins at the Nolan House. One weekend, this is 1910, his aunt gave him a simple chore: run this cake pan across the street and give it to the Wallaces. And there's that young lady across the street, the girl he met in Sunday school when they were little, the young woman with whom he graduated from high school, Bess Wallace. A long courtship followed. Harry and Bess were married in 1919 when he returned from World War I. They lived with her mother, and in time, the grand home at 219 North Delaware became known to the nation as the Truman Home. Here at the Nolan House, there are many artifacts and photos from the president's life. The question that remains unanswered is, did the president spend a lot of time at the Nolan House because it was his favorite aunt and cousins, or because Bess just happened to live across the street? The Harry S. Truman Presidential Library and Museum, which opened July 6, 1957, is the presidential library and resting place of Harry S. Truman, the 33rd President of the United States. It is located on U.S. Highway 24 in Independence, Missouri. Here is the President's own words describing his library.
This library is not a library. It's an archives building with the idea of keeping the records of the government in an orderly manner. The objective is to obtain microfilm reports on all the presidential papers. It'll take a little while to get that done, but when we do get it done, this place will be the center of the study of the presidency of the United States.
Buried on the grounds are the President, Mrs. Truman, Margaret Truman, and her husband. After his walks around Independence, the president would hang up his hat and cane around the corner by the back door.